Hi everyone, I am Brittany the Cosmic Lunar Soul. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome back to all my subscribers. Today I want to do the witchy tag called More Than a Witch. This was created by Abi the Witch, and I'll put all of the information below. So I actually discovered this tag from Tarot and Witchery, and I hope I'm saying your name right, but Teia Kennedy. I'll make sure to put their videos below as well, because this is just a really fun tag where you can get to know all of us. So there are 11 questions. Let's go ahead and get started so this video is not crazy long. All right, so question number one, super easy. What is your name and are there any stories behind your name? My name is Brittany. I say it in all my videos, but there's really no special story about like the meaning behind my name. But the funny story about my name is technically my mom did not name me. She was really bad at thinking up names. So instead what she did was have her coworkers send her names, and she would decide her favorite female name and her favorite male name. So if I was a boy, I would have been named Ian, which is funny because I have a cousin named Ian. One of my first cousins is named Ian. So yeah, I guess it's the only story connected to my name. Pretty basic name, so that's it. Question two, how old are you? I am 34. I turned 34 in May. I guess I'm closer to 35 now. I don't like that, but yeah, 34, not afraid to hide it. I feel like I talk about it pretty often. I've done like birthday tarot live streams and stuff like that. All right, number three, do you use astrology? If so, Western or real sky? And then what are your big three? I I don't really use astrology. I don't have a knack for it. I have a hard time remembering like the houses and the spectrums and the square roots of stuff. I've tried. I gave it the old college try, but it's not for me. Like I said, I'm 34. I have made it this far without having to struggle in the things that I enjoy, and I don't want to start now. But that being said, I do know my big three. I am a Taurus, Pisces, Pisces. So Taurus sun, Pisces, moon, and rising. I don't really relate to the Pisces. My friends say they see it a little bit maybe, but yeah, I'm very much Taurus through and through. My friend, she's really big into astrology. She knows like my full chart by heart somehow, whereas like I could be looking at my chart, reading it word for word, and I don't understand it. So she's really amazing with that, and sometimes I'll say things and she's like, oh, that's because this transit is happening and it's in your whatever house and that does this to you. And I'm like, oh, I wish I was better at this, but it's just not my thing. And to be honest, that's what life's about. You can't be great at everything or else you'd be great at nothing, right? Question four, did you grow up in a religious household? What religion did that influence your current spiritual path? Yes and no. My mom was never like a huge religious fanatic, but I did grow up going to church on Sunday. And when I was younger, I grew up, going to Sunday school. And even as a kid, I never really enjoyed it. I remember being a really rebellious child, like as young as like kindergarten. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember this. I was at Sunday school and I remember they were talking about like the story of Noah's Ark. And I was just like, but how did the animals not eat each other? And I was like, why didn't the animals eat Noah? And like the responses were always because that's God's will, or because that would go against God or something like that. It wasn't really like an answer. It was just more like an excuse because there was no answer. And in my little child brain, I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I've always kind of been wary of religion. I used to really enjoy going to church with my grandma because she went down south. And if you've ever been to Southern Black churches, like the music's amazing, the food's amazing. It has a really electric atmosphere. So I wasn't going for anything other than like, it's like going out to a club. It was like my Sunday club, I guess, where I got to hear some really good music and, you know, dance around. The music and the religion were disconnected to me. But my grandmom did it more so as a sense of community. It was kind of like almost like habitual, but not really. She was never like a really religious fanatic. My aunt was the one who kind of tended towards being more like solidly the cliche Christian. And I don't mean that in a good or bad way. I just mean like, you know, the one that had like the Jesus paintings in the house and, you know, sometimes wore a cross necklace, stuff like that. So, yeah, she and I never really got along on the religious aspect of things because it was just like, oh, I don't like doing this because I don't like what they're teaching and blah, blah, blah. That being said, so as a kid, I was a very like anti-religious kid. And then by the time I got into college, I was just sort of indifferent. I still did not have very good experiences with super fanatic Christians specifically, but I have attended different churches. I've gone to Catholic masses multiple times. Growing up in Philly, a lot of Italian Catholic friends. I'd go to mass with them. I've gone to some I would say light Muslim religious affairs, and I say that in the sense that I've never gone to an actual mosque during a religious ceremony, but I've gone to cultural events, and they'll have like sort of just where the religion and culture kind of intersect, and just participate in some of that. I really enjoy that because it helps me understand people, I guess, because this is something that doesn't make sense to me. So it helps me make sense of some things that don't make sense to me. That being said, I have, like I mentioned earlier, I kind of had some bad experiences in college as well. It's where I kind of came across the like what I'll call evangelicals. So by then, my grandmom had passed, and there was a bad experience she had, and that kind of soured my, kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, where the church kind of were being a little predatory because she was older, lived by herself. Technically, she did have foster kids, but they were younger, so technically by herself. But she always had her wits about her. So she kind of realized they were hounding her for money and also doing it by guilting her into thinking she's not being a very good Christian. And she didn't like that. So she stopped going to church, and she told us all about it, and it made me very mad. So that's kind of where it started, where I just kind of went back into my phase of actively disliking religions, or at least organized religion. So I've always kind of been like that. I don't like to label myself an atheist. I don't like to use labels. I'm sure you can watch one of my other videos where I talk about that, or my podcast. I ran across some evangelicals in school, which was very weird. But like I said, I went through a phase of liking to go to church with my friends because it's something special to them, so it's something special to me. But this one experience, my friend must have told one of the church leaders. He wasn't like the pastor or anything, but he was like one of the youth leaders, that I was not religious. So he made it a point to come seek me out of the crowd and hound me about why I was not religious. And I was just like, because I'm allowed to not be religious. And he was like, well, I mean, who do you think put you here? And I was like, well, there's a whole slew of evolution, and there are these things, and yes, there are some things that are not answered. But to me, that's the fun of science, and being able to dive deeper into them. And by then, obviously, I was getting my degree in math, so very logical brain. And I was saying how, like, it doesn't settle me to say, because this is unsolved at this moment, it must be a higher power. I feel like it's a cop-out. To other people, it doesn't, and that's fine, but just don't try to force it on me, because I feel like I like the mysteries. I like the unknowns. It's exciting. That's the whole reason humans explore space. That's the whole reason we explored the wild unknown. So the fact that he went out of his way to try to take that away from me just really just set me hard on the path of being very anti-religious, in the sense that it's fine for other people, but it's an absolute no for me. That being said, I still do go to church with the people that I trust, you know, my friends that I trust, that I know wouldn't put me in a situation like that. And it's not a knock to my friend in college. She wasn't saying this to be malicious. She was just like, oh, this is my friend, you know, she's not religious, but she's joining me today, that kind of thing. And it was a community thing. It wasn't just for the church. So there was no reason to be hounding me like that. So that was a long explanation about my arduous journey with religion. But how has that shaped my current spiritual journey? I'm fairly anti-pagan because of it. Like I said, I don't have room for religion in my life. I don't have room for higher powers in my life. It can feel a little alienating because of that, because a lot of communities are mostly pagan and then witchy. So it's something that I've had to navigate and figure out how to find my little nest in these communities. And that is not a knock to the communities. Like I said, it's fine for you. It's just not for me. It also makes me very vocal about what is and what is not witchcraft. And I know that might sound a little gatekeepy, but the realities are, saying that, you know, working with deities and whatever is witchcraft can be very alienating to atheists or people that are fairly anti-religious, because it's just simply not true. Now, yes, you can work with deities while, you know, practicing witchcraft. That's very common, but it's not one of the requirements. And I think that feeling like that's the default is very alienating. Is very alienating to people that don't want to be a part of that. So I do a lot of advocacy in communities that I spend more time in, where I see new people coming in with these questions and worried that they're not going to be, you know, a good witch if they don't work with a deity. And I feel like, you know, people that have been in this sphere for a while don't realize that this is happening, but I came in fairly recent enough that I understand that it's hard to navigate if you are not aware of this. And I think that a lot of people come to witchcraft to escape religious trauma. And I think it is a disservice to people to not call that out and say that, hey, you don't have to be religious in any aspect. You don't have to deal with a higher power. You don't have to do any of that. That's not what witchcraft is about. So that is my long soapbox spiel about religion and my craft. All right, number 5. What are you manifesting for your future? It's an interesting question, because I don't like the concept of manifesting, at least not in the way that I see it on social media. I think spell work is a form of manifestation. I think that there are different kinds of manifestations, so this isn't to say that I don't do it. I just don't like the concept of, if you believe it, it'll happen. I've been seeing this push on YouTube where it's like, I manifested my like Rolls Royce, or I manifested my mansion, I manifested my, you know, $400,000 a year job. Did you, or did you work hard for it while using these manifestations as a way to push yourself forward? You know what I mean? So, that, all of that to say, I don't do manifestations in that kind of way. That's not for me. But the way that I'll look at this question is, what are the things that I'm planning for the future? within my craft, I don't like to make hard set plans. I like to just kind of go where I need when I need. It's a pretty nebulous method of my craft. It's just something that is incorporated into my everyday life. Now, personally, I have plenty of goals, hoping I can get a permanent remote job, which is hard to do as an engineer. Um, I don't know. I don't know. This is a really hard question. I feel like I'm in an interview. I'm like sweating now. I'm gonna just go on to question 6. So, 6. Do you have a favorite season? What time of year makes you feel the most authentically you? Um, let's see. Let me think about this. So, I like the spring because it's when my birthday is. That was also when I was in school. That was also when the end of the year was happening. That's also when things outside just start to look really pretty. Things are starting to bloom and animals are starting to return. I've always lived in slightly colder climates, being born and raised in Philadelphia. So I really enjoy spring, but I also enjoy fall a lot. So fall, I enjoy the colors. I enjoy the fashion where you can pull out your sweaters and boots and finally leave the hot oppression of summer. I enjoy the brisk, chilly air. I just really love fall a lot. Um, so I guess fall really does it for me. Now, if I lived in an area that snowed regularly but not heavily, I think I would like winter a lot more. I enjoy snow, but sometimes I'm just like, if it's going to be this cold, it needs to just snow. I need to get something out of it. So, yeah, fall and spring are my two favorites. So it's like I like the transition seasons. All right, question 7. Do you have a favorite color? Do you feel this is your aura color? If not, what do you think your aura color is? I do have a favorite color. It's purple. It's been my favorite color for as long as I can remember. I've never given up on that color, and I probably never will. I like it because it's a sign of royalty. My cluster of favorite colors are purple, black, and silver. I tend to always have like silver jewelry or silver colored. It doesn't have to actually be silver, but and then I like black because it complements purple and silver very well. I don't work with auras. I must be watching too much Harry Potter. I don't work with auras at all. I don't even know how to answer that question, so I don't want to lie to you guys. But if you guys know about auras and you think you see mine, can you even do that through camera? I feel like you can. I don't know. I feel like I've heard that somewhere, but let me know what color you think my aura is. Question 8. Do you have a job, career, lifestyle that makes money or helps support you and your family in any way? What do you do? So this is just a long question to say, what's my job? I work currently as a systems/data engineer, transitioning back into systems engineering. I work for it sounds more impressive than it really is. I'm really just one of the HQ people in their ivory tower creating and monitoring policy. It's okay. It pays the bills. Um yeah, pays the bills. But I do have a little side shop where I sell salves and oils, spell jars, baths, and I just recently introduced my tarot reading services and bone reading services to my shop. So yeah, it just brings in some fun money. It really just self propels itself, really. Um, super, super small. I should probably do better at marketing it, but I just kind of haven't figured out a rhythm yet that where I can find a nice balance between my full-time job and my fun time job. It's really, really exhausting. What are some things that make you unique and an individual? What a loaded question, you know? I guess since this is talking about being more than a witch, I'll talk about in the spectrum of witchcraft. I think that being so heavily based in science, it makes me a unique witch. Um, Mostly because I like to apply a lot of scientific methods to how I approach something. So if I can't so if I'm planning out spells, I'm fairly meticulous in what I do. I kind of have a same process for a lot of things. Um, what else do I do? And I feel like I come across, you know, topics more logically than I feel like some people do. And I don't mean that as a knock to them. It's just a fact. Ooh, that sounds condescending. I don't mean it to be. So I just feel like I can. Let me back up a little bit. I used to teach. As a part-time job when I was in break between undergrad and grad, and then when I went back to grad school, I used to teach. I've tutored in college, so I feel like I'm very good at breaking things apart for people to understand and for different people to understand. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way that my brain just sees things. And it's like you can pull apart the pieces, help people understand the pieces, and then how the pieces go back together. It's like a puzzle, right? You see the picture, you see each little jig, and you figure out how they connect together in order to create the big picture. So I feel like being able to do that outside of witchcraft allows me to apply that to topics in witchcraft as well. Because really, you never turn it off. It's a gift and a curse. So I think that it really helps me to help newer people that are a little newer, but then it also helps me learn when I'm talking to people that have been in the craft or been in a specific segment of witchcraft a little longer than I have, so that way I can break things down and make them make sense to me. And then if I can't make them make sense to me, it really most likely has no place in my practice. But I feel like even if something doesn't resonate with me, like I mentioned earlier that I don't do deity work, right? But I still have enough conscious awareness to help people process whether it's for them or whether it's not. And then I kind of know there's always a point where I'm like, all right, I've given you all I can. This person, my buddy over here, this is her swim lane. Go ahead, chat with her about it now. But you have the steps to make these smart decisions for you. So, my God, what was the question? Where did I get into this? But yeah, I think that is one of the things that makes me unique, because I think that people think because they're getting into witchcraft, getting into the magical sphere of the world, that they can just throw logic and common sense to the side. And there is no part of life where you can really do that. There isn't. I mean, if you think there is, comment below. I'm willing to argue with anyone on the internet. Friendly debate, of course. But all joking aside, I just think that people should probably realize that, you know, magic and science are two faces of the same coin, and a lot of people forget that other face and just sort of throw logic to the wind. And I don't think that's a good idea. I can't express into words why I feel like it's not a good idea, but it feels like you're just gonna end up lost in the sauce kind of thing. But other things make me an individual, but I'm gonna save that for the end, where I talk about my hobbies and stuff like that, because I think that's better for that question. All right. 2 more questions. Number 10. What advice would you give your younger self? In terms of witchcraft, I would tell myself to start earlier. When I was younger, I thought Wicca and witchcraft were the same thing. So it was very much not for me. I feel like I was, I mentioned I'm 34, so I'm like the heart of millennials. So resources were not as readily available until I got into college. But by the time I got into college, I went into college, straight into grad school. I really didn't have time to learn anything else. I didn't have the bandwidth to do it, whether I wanted to or not. So it wasn't until I graduated and until some, life events happened where I discovered what witchcraft truly was. So I feel like I would tell my younger self that, and some of the benefits to being a witch and feeling like you're taking a lot of the unknown power of the world, of the universe, into your own hands, and there's a confidence in that, and I would love to give my younger self a little bit more confidence, maybe less mouthy, but more confidence. And then of course all the cliche stuff, tell myself to invest in Apple, invest in Google, invest in Microsoft, so that way I could be a tycoon and then not have to work and just work on my witchy shop. And let's see. I think that's it. What advice would you guys give to your younger selves? Last question. Favorite interests, hobbies, or activities outside of witchcraft? So one of the biggest ones is I like to play dodgeball. I actually play nationally. I came in second in the last tournament I played. And we came in second. It was a different team, but we came in second in a tournament back in, what was that? In August. So it's super fun. I'm very competitive. I went to the national tournament a few months ago, back in October. Finished middle of the pack. The West Coast has crazy competitive dodgeball, so we can't really compete with that very well on the West Coast, but we did fairly well. I mean, I said middle of the pack, but we were like upper middle of the pack, which was pretty solid. I'd take it, and it was a lot of our first nationals, so pacing it was like a 4-day tournament, so pacing was not, we did not know how to pace ourselves throughout the 4 days. By the second day, my legs were just like shot. I also used to cycle. I'm hoping to get back into that. What else do I do? I guess sort of tarot reading. I don't know if it's an interest outside of witchcraft technically, because I don't incorporate tarot into my witchcraft. But if I sell my readings, is it still considered a hobby, or is it now a side hustle? I don't know. Tarot, and divination in general, I really enjoy that. And then I think you might have seen Luna in the beginning of the video. I have 2 little black kitties, so I guess they're an interest when not getting on my nerves. But Apollo and Luna are my 2 black cats, and together they are the Space Cadets. I guess together we're all the Space Cadets, which is, I guess I should have said this for what makes me unique and an individual. Everybody is space themed because I went to grad school for aerospace engineering, so I'm an aerospace engineer. Used to be by trade and by education, now just by education. And then we have Luna Andromeda, and then we have Apollo Phoenix, and then our last name. So together we're the Space Cadets. I used to play softball and stuff. These are things that I'm hoping to get back into. And then yeah, I think that's really, I guess, I am a bit of a foodie too. I should mention that. Ironically, I'm a foodie, but I don't really consider myself too big on kitchen witchery because I don't like to cook. I like to eat, not to cook. which is kind of a problem. But yeah, that's it. Those are all the questions, guys. If you're not a YouTuber, go ahead and let me know whatever questions kind of stood out to you. Let me know your answers because I want to get to know you guys as well. And if you are a YouTuber, if you're going to do this tag, make sure you tag me so I know to come watch your video. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. If you want to see a little bit more about me, go ahead and check out my other witchy tag. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye.